beneficial, I think, on your part. This class is not going to be very long, so we can go ahead and dive into it right now. Just as a reminder, the homework was the sentence rephrasing questions and inference questions from the reading passages in the TOEFL official guide, in addition to every question from the first reading passage of practice test 1 at the back of the book. Did everyone get a chance to do the homework? Just let me know. Hopefully, yes. All right, let's dive in. Here we go. So the first thing we're going to talk about is sentence rephrasing. So any volunteers for this one? The structure of the backbone shows, however, oops, I should get rid of that line there. We're going to be moving pretty quickly because there's kind of a lot to talk about, but I can take a volunteer. Let's go to Dina. Hey, Dina, so we have the structure of the backbone shows, however, that it swam like modern whales by moving the rear portion of its body up and down, even though a fluke was missing. What did you choose, Dina?
একটু পর
I did not. I thought you were going to do it now. What page is that?
It looks like page 60 down at the bottom.
60?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so you haven't done it yet?
I did. No, I did the homework, but I have the book in front of me.
Oh, okay, okay.
What section is that?
It's from the Origins of Cetaceans passage. It's on page 60, number 8.
I chose C.
C? Is that what you said? C?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do all the matching and just make sure all of the ideas match. So the first one is, although A had no fluke, so a fluke was missing, very good. The second idea, its backbone shows that it swam like modern whales. Where does it say that?
The backbone shows swam like a modern whale.
So this one's actually pretty easy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this one's pretty easy. It's pretty direct. Awesome job. Thank you, Dina. Now, to talk about why answers are wrong, remember, we always want to do process of elimination. If you look at this one, it did not have a backbone. We don't have any evidence about that. The backbone of A, the backbone allowed it to swim. I don't see that idea. The backbone allowed it to swim. And then finally, by moving the rear parts of their bodies up and down, we do have that, by the way. Modern whales swim in a different way. I don't see anything about different here. So you can always attack these questions from two different angles. You can justify the right answer or eliminate the wrong answers. I would prefer that you do both. So the correct answer here is going to be C. Any volunteers for this one? This is from the Desert Formation passage, page 69, number 8. The sentence says, the extreme seriousness of desertification results from the vast areas of land and the tremendous numbers of people affected, as well as from the great difficulty of reversing or even slowing the process. Let's go to Diana. How are you, Diana?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Greg. I chose B.
All right, let's take a look. So if B is correct, B says slowing down this process is difficult. Can you show me where it says that?
Slowing the process means difficult.
No, I mean in the sentence, where does it say slowing down the process is difficult?
I mean, at the end.
I mean, can you identify specifically?
As well as from great difficulty or reversing or even slowing the process.
Okay.
So,
I agree.
Yeah.
Do they give a reason why this is difficult?
Yeah, because of the because of the vast areas of land and tremendous numbers of people were affected.
B uses the word because. Which is a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the highlighted sentence here, do you see any reason anywhere?
It says results from. That's a synonym of.
So that's true. Exactly. So these are the three reasons why. So we have reason number 1, reason number 2, reason number 2 right there, reason number 3. And they say that the seriousness is the effect. So these are the three reasons. But if you look at answer choice B, B is saying the reason why it's difficult to slow down is because of population growth.
Mm-hmm.
Does it say that in the highlighted sentence?
Tremendous number of people affected, so I thought it's the same.
So let's actually break down this highlighted sentence. What is the effect and what is the cause?
So the cause is that.
Let's start with the
vast
effect. Let's start with the effect. What is the effect?
Desertification.
Well, the extreme seriousness of it.
Seriousness.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what are the causes? Because it seems like there's more than one.
Right. So there are three causes.
Mm-hmm. So what's the first one?
First one, vast areas of land.
Mm-hmm. Number two?
Tremendous number of people.
And number three? The great difficulty. So the effect is this is an extremely serious problem, and here are the three causes why, right?
Okay, so B doesn't show three, so that's why.
Well, not only that, you're saying the effect is slowing down is difficult, and the reason is population growth. But is that what the sentence says?
No, because it gives three reasons. No,
Yeah, so that's not going to work right there.
Okay, so I think it's A.
Yeah, let's take a look at A. So desertification is significant. We do have that extreme seriousness, right? And then because implies our reasons. So here's it is so hard to reverse, affects large areas of land and great numbers of people. Does that look like it fits?
So yes, those three things we have here and the reasons. All good. Okay, thank you very much. I got it.
But be careful here because I want you to really think about this. In choosing B, that's not a huge problem because of course sometimes we make mistakes. But remember, you didn't just choose B, you also eliminated A. So when you're taking these tests, remember to attack them from two different sides, right? Attack from the justification side, but also attack from the process of elimination side.
So again, what was my issue here?
So by choosing B, you're also saying that A, C, and D are wrong, right?
Right.
So when you originally chose B, what answer would you give for why A is wrong?
I mean, no answer because...
Yeah, no answer, exactly.
Yeah.
So I want you to start approaching questions like that from two different sides, from two different angles. Look at, for example, C. What makes C wrong? So the spread of deserts is considered a very serious problem. That's true. There's nothing wrong with that. But what makes it wrong here?
Can be solved only if large number.
Do you see anything about solution here?
No.
No, nothing about solution. So this is what I mean. And if you look at D, again, it says desertification is extremely hard to reverse unless, which implies that this is a solution.
Yeah.
But again, if we go to the original sentence, there's no solution.
Okay, so you're suggesting I should probably eliminate...
I'm suggesting to attack answer choices from two different angles.
Okay. Thank you. Yep.
All right, let's go to the next one. He refused to develop projection technology, reasoning that if he made and sold projectors, then exhibitors would purchase only one machine, a projector, from him instead of several. Let's go to Suvajit. What did you choose?
Yeah, Greg, I chose C.
All right, so let's take a look.
Yeah.
So the first idea is Edison did not want to develop projection technology. Where is that?
He refused to develop projection technology.
Very good. And then it gives us a reason. Where does it say reason?
Reason says that
reasoning, very good. And then finally, where does it say it limited the number of machines he could sell?
Would purchase only one machine.
Instead of several.
Instead of several,
yeah.
It limits its count.
I like it. Okay, do you want to talk about why answers are wrong? Why is A wrong?
Yeah. The line doesn't state that the Edison was interested in developing a variety of machines.
More importantly, does it actually say more interested? Do you see like a compare? I don't see a comparison anywhere.
No.
Okay, B.
Yes. he didn't refuse to work on projection technology. He refused the projection technology, but
He refused to
didn't
develop it,
refuse.
right? Not really
Yeah,
work
yes,
on it.
work on it.
But
Exactly.
but let's imagine that's correct. Let's just imagine what else makes this
Okay.
wrong.
Um, no, he thought that exhibitors would buy from him, but only one, not several. So
Yeah.
here the option says that he did not think exhibitors. That's wrong. Did not think. No, he actually thought that exhibitors would buy from.
Okay, so you're saying it doesn't give a negative thinking, it gives a positive thinking. Like he did think this, not he did not think this. Okay. Also, do we have any idea about replace?
No,
No idea about replace.
No,
Okay.
yeah.
How about D?
D is that D states that in future also he will not develop the projection technology, and also gives the reason.
Yeah, it
But,
gives it actually gives a condition, which means if the exhibitors agree to purchase, then he
Yeah.
would develop. But is there any condition here?
No.
Well,
no,
there is
no
a
such-
condition right here if he made and sold projectors. But first of all, we have a couple things. Not if they agree to purchase more than one projector, stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? And in
Yeah.
fact, this actually implies that Edison did develop it after they agreed to his condition. But this one just says no, he didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Great job. All right, moving on. Any volunteers for this one? For example, people who believe that aggression is necessary and justified, as during wartime, are likely to act aggressively, whereas people who believe that a particular war or act of aggression is unjust, or who think that aggression is never justified, are less likely to behave aggressively. Let's go to Akif. Hey, Akif, how are you?
Hello.
Hey.
I think the right answer is B.
Okay.
Option B.
So let's take a look. People who believe that aggression is necessary and justified are more likely to be aggressive. Where does it say that?
We can understand this from according to the passage. People who believe that aggression is necessary are likely to act aggressively.
Boom.
Yes, it's so clear.
Okay, what about this one? Than those who behave differently? Or who believe differently, sorry.
I think it's about the people.
Like, where do
or
we
the-
see?
the-
So
the
than
second
means
people
contrast, right? Than means
are less
contrast.
likely to behave aggressively. Who
Right.
think that aggression is never justified?
Who are less likely right there. And of course, the word whereas indicates contrast as well. And do they believe differently?
Yes, I mean they are less likely to behave aggressively.
No,
They
about their
behave
belief.
different.
About their belief. So what is the evidence that they believe differently? Because this one says they
Who would
believe.
think that aggression is never justified?
There you go. Yep. Exactly. Very good. Okay. Why is A wrong?
A is wrong because blah blah fighting a just war, act aggressively. Okay, while those who believe that people are fighting or unjust war. Okay, according to the passage, it gives a war as an example.
Right.
It states in a particular situation such
Right.
a war. It's not about war conditions. It's just an example.
Exactly. So A makes it seem like that's the main point, but in the actual sentence, war is just an example. It's not the main point, right? Awesome job. C.
The same, I think. And justified may act aggressively during wartime. No.
Again, they're focusing specifically on wartime for some reason.
Yes.
Again,
Yes.
that's just an example. And it doesn't show a contrast either, right? Remember, there's a contrast in this sentence between two groups of people. Look at C. Do you see a contrast?
No.
No, neither do I. I just see a description about one group of people, right? People. Same thing with D. I mean, do you see a contrast in D?
No.
Neither do I. Yeah, it just says people. Yeah, so the correct answer has to be B. Awesome job. Thank you, Akif. All right, I think we have two more of these. I'll go ahead and do this one, and then we'll take one volunteer. So apprentices were considered part of the family. Let's see if we can find that. Masters demanded, no. The responsibilities of the master went beyond the teaching. Maybe this is part of the family. Masters prefer to maintain the trade within the family by supervising. I don't really see anything about apprentices. Masters who trained members of their own family as apprentices demanded excellence. I don't really see this idea anywhere, so I'm going to skip it. Masters were responsible not only for teaching their apprentices a trade, but also for providing them some education. So basically, they had to teach them more than just the business. They also had to give them an education and moral edification, teach them about right and wrong. So let's take a look. Masters demanded moral behavior, but treated them irresponsibly. Do we have any evidence about that? The responsibilities of the master to the apprentice went beyond. That looks pretty good. Went beyond matches with education and supervising their moral behavior. Masters preferred. Do we have anything about their preference? I don't see anything about what they preferred. Masters who train members of their own family. What is that? I don't see anything about their own family, so that's wrong. So the correct answer must be B. All right, we'll do one more. We'll take a volunteer. This is the last sentence rephrasing question from these groups of reading passage. Hey, Siva, how you doing?
Hey Greg, how are you?
Not too bad. Yourself?
I'm fine. So for this question, just a second. So it says that once the fish is opening its mouth to breathe, it's losing its shrimp lining, so it slows them down.
Yeah, so it's a problem, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So I went for option D.
Which one?
Opening the mouth to breathe.
D, right? D, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So the first idea is opening the mouth to breathe. So obviously that's going to be opening the mouth to breathe. Where does it say can reduce the speed?
It says it tends to slow them down.
Tends to slow them down. Very good. And now let's talk about wrong answers. Why is A wrong?
It never says a problem about opening their mouth.
Yeah, the problem is about slowing down, not opening their mouth. Very good. B?
It says the streamlining of these fishes prevent them from slowing down. There's nothing about preventing from slowing down.
Actually, we have the opposite. Actually, they are slowing down, not preventing. Okay, how about C?
The streamlining of these fishes tend to slow it. It's kind of the reverse. Breathing slows them down, not slowing down their breathing. Right?
It's like they reverse cause and effect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Great job. Thank you, Siva. All right, we've completed all of the sentence rephrasing questions. Before we move on to inference and the passage, does anybody have any questions? My main piece of advice is to attack these from two angles. Attack it from a justification point of view and from an elimination point of view. All right, if there are no questions, let's go ahead and move on to the inference questions. So remember, with an inference question, you have this process. Does anybody want to volunteer and kind of walk me through this process? Identify it's an inference question, rephrase the question, identify the evidence, make a logical deduction, find the right answer, eliminate the wrong ones. Any volunteers for this one? Let's go to Suvajit. Suvajit, how do we know it's an inference question?
Because of the word inferred.
Awesome. All right, can you rephrase the question for me?
Yeah, that's where I can get messed up.
Just try your best.
Yeah. Which information below could be true about the early sea otters?
Yeah, which of the information is likely true or probably true, right?
True.
Yeah, because we're talking about the inference question. Okay, what is the evidence? Where does it talk about the early sea otters?
Yeah, this somewhere in the passage they said that whales were not easy to determine how they look like.
Yeah, let's take a look. However, unlike the cases, because we have to find the evidence, don't we? Hold on, let me.
It is not easy to envision what the first whales looked like.
Yeah, and it says that unlike sea otters.
Unlike sea otters, yeah.
Right, so this is the deduction process. So it's not easy to envision what the whales looked like, and this is different than sea otters. So what is the logical deduction?
So I used a block of 4.
Right.
Yeah. So otters were easy to know how they look like.
Right. So what do we choose?
Yeah. So we ended up choosing C.
C.
No, I'm sorry. It's A. It's A.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
was like,
the
yeah.
Nigeria.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It is not difficult to imagine what they
Yeah.
look like. Yeah, very
Yeah.
good. Or
C
looked
is
like.
way out of topic.
Yeah, C is way out of topic.
Okay.
So thank
Yeah.
you, Subhajit. And of course, we can eliminate the wrong answers. There's nothing about the abundance of them, abundant, the number of them. It never says that they lived in the sea only the sea, right? And actually, it even says on land and at sea. So to be honest, we have contradictory evidence. And then finally, it doesn't really even talk about the fossils. Oh, extinct but already fully marine cetaceans are known from the fossil record. Does it say anything about sea otters and fossils? I'm not really saying it. Yeah. Okay. So the correct answer is going to be A. Great job, Subhajit. All right. So this is the second inference question. I think this is the last one. Okay. Any volunteers for this one? Walk us through the process. So identify it's an inference question, rephrase the question, identify the evidence, make a deduction. Any volunteers? Subhajit has his hand up again, but any other volunteers? Let's go to Dina. Hey, Dina, how do we know this is an inference question?
It says inferred from.
Yep. Okay, can you rephrase the question for me?
Which of the following, what can we conclude from the passage about the manufactured before 1850?
Yeah, exactly. What is likely true about the objects that were made before 1815? And of course, the evidence is going to be right around here, right? Okay.
Yes.
What does it say?
It says that the manufacturing was doing at the skilled.
Yep.
Skilled
Number one is skilled. That's
yes.
number one. Okay.
And the women worked in their homes.
Part-time. Mm-hmm.
Part-time.
And then what does it say about after 1815? Because this is really the block of four. The block of four, this is how it's an inference. So it says after 18, it was 1815, unskilled and factory production and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
So we can infer that before 1815, it was skilled, it was there was a focus on producing probably a good quality, right? Yes. Okay, so yeah, what do we choose here?
C?
Yeah, I'm going with C. Yep. Let's talk about wrong answers. Why is A wrong?
They were produced by women? No, not just by women.
Not just women, right? It said women worked part-time, but it doesn't say just women. Very good. How about B?
In shops, rather in homes? No, they say they do it at home.
No, they say they do it at both homes or shops, right? But if you take a look at B, it says shops is bigger than homes, which we don't have any evidence for. How about D?
Mostly in large cities with extensive transportation network. They did not say anything about large cities.
Well, they did right here. But is that about before 1815 or after? That's after 1815, right? So they do mention large cities and extensive transportation networks, but that's about after 1815. Great job. Well done, Dina. Any questions about inference questions? We're now going to move on. Diana has a question. Hey, Diana, what's up?
Yeah, so the origin of cetaceans, I made a mistake again. I don't get it. So
which one?
Cetaceans.
This one here?
The previous, yeah.
Okay, so remember, an inference is really like a deduction, right? And so do they actually give us any information about sea otters directly?
No.
No, all they say is that it's unlike the whales, right? That's it. That's the only information we have. What information does it give us about the whales?
That they were mammals.
No, I mean this part right here. If you look at this bracket from here to here, what does it say about the whales?
It is not easy to envision what the first whales looked like.
Yeah, rephrase that. What does it mean?
I mean, they don't know how they look like.
Yeah, they don't know what the
Just
first
difficult.
whales looked like, right?
Yeah.
And this is unlike the sea otters. So what deduction can you make?
So it's easy to know how sea otters look like.
Exactly. And then which answer choice says that?
It's not difficult to imagine what they look like. Okay, so it is not difficult to imagine.
Yeah, it is not difficult means it is easy, right?
It's
That's what
easy,
it means,
yeah.
yeah.
So then why did I pick D?
Probably because you're still getting the hang of this. You're still getting the hang of this. Remember, if D is correct, you have to have evidence. And you can see.
I'll tell you.
Sure.
Because the whole passage tells like it's difficult. We don't.
You can't say the whole passage because that's not evidence. Have you ever
because
heard?
I picked the wrong.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the phrase throwing like the entire kitchen sink at the wall? So you can't obviously evidence is somewhere. You can't say, oh, the evidence is in the entire passage. You have to have something quite specific, especially with inference questions. Yeah.
Okay, so the specific question here, however.
Well, the evidence begins with however, because that's where we see the first information about sea otters.
Exactly. Okay, I got it now. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep. All right, we're going to move on to the whole passage. The whole passage. So if you guys have been joining these TOEFL reading classes, you know that I like to start with what? Like, what's my first move? I'm looking at the passage. What is the first thing I do? Any volunteers? Dina, what's the first thing I do?
Main idea for each paragraph.
I try to find the main ideas of every paragraph. So the paragraph main ideas of these 6 paragraphs are the following. This is what I found. The modern presidency began with Jackson. It increased the power of the presidency. The paragraph 2 talks about economic beliefs of the Democrats. They were very concerned with people. They didn't really like the market. Then paragraph 3 talks about the economic beliefs of the Whigs, which is the other party. They liked the market. You could almost think about this as Democrats and Republicans today a little bit. Paragraph number 4, the government belief of Democrats. So the Democrats wanted small government. Paragraph number 5, the government belief of the Whigs. They wanted a strong, big government. And then finally, paragraph number 6 talks about who voted for each party. There was some similarities and there were some differences as well. So what we want to do with these 6 main ideas is choose the 3 ideas here. Any volunteers? Any volunteers can help me choose? Let's go to Dina again. Hey, Dina, what looks like big ideas that match what we said?
A.
So A is definitely correct. That's going to match with this last paragraph about who voted for each party, right?
Yes.
What else?
The other one is E.
E is definitely correct because obviously that's going to be paragraphs number 2 and 3. And what's the last one?
F.
F is also correct because again, that's going to be paragraphs 4 and 5, right?
Yes.
Awesome job. Easy enough. Easy enough. Let's talk about wrong answers. Any volunteers want to tell me why B, C, and D are wrong? Anyone want to tell me why B, C, and D are wrong? Remember, process of elimination is super important. If you want to get a really high reading TOEFL score, you have to be able to talk about why B, C, and D are wrong. Let's go to Suvajit. What do you think, B?
Yeah, I think B is wrong because the sentence says that in the 2 terms as president, he served both in Democratic and Whig parties, but that's wrong.
Yeah, that's just wrong. Yeah, he was a Democrat. Okay, see?
Yeah. And this is true for the Whig party, not the Democratic Party.
Awesome. Yeah, the Democratic Party did not like the market and the banks. Yeah.
Exactly.
D?
Yeah. D is wrong because
What does D focus? What does D focus on specifically?
That Whigs favored government aid for education.
Education. Is there a main? Do you see a main idea anywhere about education?
No.
Yeah, neither do I. So this, even if it's true, it's too specific, right?
Exactly.
Even if it's true, it's too specific. Okay. I'll have you stay on the line. The next one is
Yeah.
vocabulary. What is this equal?
Yeah, it's idea D.
Yep, that's easy. All right, moving on.
Yeah,
All right, we're going to move on to factual questions. So I'll do the first one together. So with a factual question, you first want to identify it's a factual question. I know that because of the phrase according to paragraph 1. Right there, according to paragraph 1. Okay. So then what I like to do is rephrase the question. The presidency of Andrew Jackson was especially significant for which of the following reasons? If I'm going to rephrase that, I'm going to say, why was the presidency of Andrew Jackson important? Why was it important? So let's go find the evidence. The development of the modern presidency began with Andrew Jackson. Seems pretty important. Enlarge the power. Seems pretty important. And so now we just play the vocab matching game. The development of the modern presidency in the U.S. began with Andrew Jackson. Obviously, the answer choice is C. Are you guys familiar with the word freebie? You know what a freebie is? Yeah, so sometimes TOEFL will give you a freebie. What do you think I mean by a freebie? Any volunteers? If I say TOEFL is going to give you a freebie, what do I mean by that? Dina, what do I mean by that?
It's easy question.
Yeah, like super easy.
Yeah.
They don't change the vocabulary. It's not a thinking question. It's just a freebie. It's like a free point. All right, any volunteers for this one? This is also a factual question because notice it's not saying why does the author do something. It's just literally asking for evidence. Let's go to Subodh. Hey Subodh, how'd you do this one?
Sir, I did it elimination technique.
Okay, sure. Walk me through it.
First, I read the before highlighted part and then after highlighted part.
Right.
And from that, I got the answer B.
Yeah.
B.
So let's support that. Where in the passage does it say unfairly becoming rich?
Unfairly. Manipulated the banking system for their own profit.
Yep, no, definitely right there. Their own profit, 100%. How about this one? Greedy as well, right? Greedy. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Where does it say the Democrats didn't like these people? How do we know this is the belief of the Democrats?
Wings and Democrats held different attitudes towards the change brought about by market, banks, and commerce. And
Also here, Democrats claimed right there.
After that, also Democrats wanted the reward of the market without sacrificing the features of simple aggregation. From there, also we can get that idea.
Exactly. Awesome job. Cool. Let's go ahead and move on. Any volunteers for these two factual questions? You can move kind of quickly. Let's go to Suvajit. So Suvajit, number 3, Whigs believed that commerce and economic development would have which of the following effects? Can you rephrase that for me?
Yeah, that in context to commerce and economic development, what the Whigs actually believed.
Not exactly. So what you're really looking for is the rephrasing of the word effect.
Yes, okay.
How would you rephrase that? Effect on society?
The implementation on the society, I know I'm not getting it correctly.
No worries. So you could use a phrase like lead to.
So, yeah, lead to, yeah.
Or consequence. You could use something like that, right? So the Whigs had an opinion that commerce and economic development would lead to something, right?
Yeah.
It would lead to something. According to the passage, what is our evidence here?
Yeah, according to the passage, the evidence is that the economic growth would benefit everyone by raising the national income.
Yep, exactly. So it would lead to kind of opportunity for everybody, raise the income, expand. Okay, so what'd you choose?
I chose A.
Yep, A is correct. Awesome job. Number 4. Which of the following describes the Whig Party's view of the role of government? Can you rephrase that?
Yeah.
You hate the rephrasing, don't you?
Yeah, no, no, I'm not hating it, but I don't know. I push myself to rephrase each and every question, but somehow I get constrained. Means
It's tough.
I
It's
sometimes
tough.
I do. Yeah, it's tough.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel it's very tough.
But it's important. It's important because it
Yeah,
actually tells
very
us what to
important
look for.
because yeah, because sometimes when I do actually come up with the correct rephrasing, I approach or get the answer a bit quicker.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
So this
yeah.
is saying which of the following describes the Whig
Yes,
Party's
yes.
view of the role of government? How would you rephrase that?
Uh, the way the Whigs party sees the
Mhm.
role of government
Yeah,
or
what is
view
their
of the
opinion? What is their
opinion. Yeah.
opinion of the role of
Opinion.
government, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, that would be right here. The government's responsibility
Its
was to provide a
responsibility.
well-regulated economy that guaranteed opportunity. So what'd you choose?
Exactly. I chose C.
Yeah, it looks like C.
Exactly.
To maintain an economy, so that's going to be well-regulated economy that allowed that guaranteed opportunity for
Ability.
capable ability. Awesome job.
Ability.
Yep,
Yeah.
great job, Subhajit.
Thank
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. All right, we have one more factual question. This is the last factual question. Any volunteers? Let's go to Andrea. So, Andrea, can you rephrase the question first?
I have difficulty with that too. But
Okay, just give it a shot. Yeah, just give it a shot.
a Democrat would be most likely to support government action in whichever. So, the Democrats would be inclined to help
Mm-hmm.
the following action.
So, a Democrat would be inclined, I agree with that, to support government action. Yeah, to go along with
Yeah.
what government action, right? Yeah, so if we want to rephrase this, a Democrat would be inclined to go along with which of the following government actions.
Mhm.
And what's our evidence here?
I destroying monopolies.
I mean, not the answer. What's the evidence?
Democrats, as a rule, believe that limited government's role in the economy was to promote competition by destroying monopolies.
By destroying monopolies, that looks pretty good. Yeah, so definitely C right there. Awesome. Cool. Great job.
Thank you.
All right, we did it, everybody, for the factual questions at least. Any questions about the factual questions before we move on to this one, this sentence addition question? Any questions? All right, let's take a volunteer for this one. So remember the process. The process is, oh wait, Andrea might have a question. Hey, Andrea, did you have a question from before? Sorry.
Yes. Well, how do we get better with rephrase, like, because you make it, when you say it, it's so easy.
Sure.
And then to come up with the rephrasing is
Sure.
very difficult, because I do agree that when I do rephrase, I find the answer faster.
What is your native language?
It's Spanish.
Okay, can you say exactly what you just said to me in Spanish?
¿Cómo puedo descifrar la pregunta?
When you speak Spanish, it's so easy. It comes out so easily. How do you do that?
It's
Yeah. So obviously there's nothing wrong with you. So I think that's number one. There's nothing wrong with you. Because sometimes people take it personal. Sometimes people go, I can't do this, right? But remember, you speak 2 languages. I speak 1 language. So clearly you have a huge benefit in that respect over me. Now, if you were teaching somebody Spanish, what would you advise them to do? You would advise them to practice, right? The problem is, do people actually practice rephrasing questions? I mean, not you, I just mean in general. Do you think people actually practice this? No, not really. Yeah, they really don't. They really don't practice this. So I think as you continue to practice this, you're going to get better and better at it. And remember, you don't have to do you don't have to keep the same structure of the sentence. So you don't have to just go, okay, would be inclined to go along with. You can change the structure of the sentence as well, as long as it has the same idea.
Okay.
Yep, makes sense.
Thank you.
Yep. Any volunteers for this one? Remember the process. Look for any transition words. Look for any pronouns. Determine whether it's a general idea. Will an example follow? Is it specific? All right, let's go to Dina. So Dina, do we see any transition words here?
This new party.
So transition, that's actually not a transition word. It's a pronoun, right?
Pronoun.
Yeah, it's a pronoun. Okay, so what has to go before this sentence?
Before this sentence should be about the new party.
Exactly, very good. Okay. Now, does this sentence seem general or does it seem specific?
General.
Yeah, very general, because it's talking about a number of areas beginning with the economy. So after this would have to be everything about the economy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, very good. Okay, with those two pieces of information, what's the best answer?
A.
A is correct, yeah. So before, do we have something about the new party?
Yes.
Yes, we do. After, does it talk about economics and all that stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Great job. Well done. All right, I think we're almost done here, everybody. We're almost done. So hold on, let me fix this. All right, let's go to Andrea. Hey, Andrea, do you want to do this one?
Sure.
Okay, so tell me the answer you chose, and then we'll try to match it to the blue sentence here.
Wings were strongest in town, cities, and rural areas, but fully integrated into the market economy, whereas the Democrats dominated many semi-subsistence farming that were once more isolated and efficient economies.
So first of all, do you see any reasons here, or do you just see a contrast?
There's a contrast.
Yeah, it's just a contrast, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anything that doesn't present a contrast is wrong. Like, for example, does A present a contrast?
To see the answer, and what my problem is, what I tend to do is that I go to the answer that I see right away that it's obvious, it's a contrast, so I pick B. But then
Which one?
B.
B. So it does say naturally split, but that's not a contrast between two things. A contrast between two things would be with the word while, would it not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's actually look at the first idea. The Democrats' power was greatest in poorer areas. Do we have evidence for that?
Well, the isolated and languishing economy.
Yeah, so that means poor, right?
Yeah.
Do we have evidence that they had great power in these areas?
Strongest and fully integrated into market economy.
No, remember, this is about the Democrats. You're reading something about the Whigs.
The strongest. We're talking about the Democrats, so that.
So we already had the poor areas right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be languishing economically, isolated. But we still need to provide evidence for the Democrats' power was greatest. Do we have any evidence for that?
The dominated area.
Yep, dominated right there. Yeah, so dominated is going to match with the power was greatest. Make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go to the Whigs now. So the first idea about the Whigs is about their strongest. Do we have any evidence about that? Strongest?
It says strongest.
Yep, it says strongest. Very good. And the second idea is where the market was fully operating. What's our evidence for that?
Fully integrated?
Yep, fully integrated into the market economy. So as you can see, all of the ideas in D are supported, right? Cool. All right, I think we're done. Last one, inference question. Any volunteers? Suvajit? All right, Suvajit, is it an inference question?
Yeah, it's an inference question.
Yep,
It's because
inferred.
of the word inferred.
All right, can
Yeah.
you rephrase it?
Yeah. What are the differences in the political beliefs within the Whig Party?
Not bad, but remember what can be inferred about those differences,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What is probably true about those
Agreed, yeah.
differences? So now you have to find differences within the Whig Party.
Yeah.
What's the
Um,
evidence?
Yeah, they said that by regulating the economy and the competition, the government could ensure the equal opportunity.
That doesn't say anything about within the Whig Party. It doesn't show me any differences either.
Okay.
Remember, you want to
Whigs
find
in
the evidence.
Whigs in contrast viewed government power positively.
Does that show differences within the party or differences in
No.
comparison to the Democrats?
In comparison to Democrats.
Yeah, so remember, that's why it's so important to rephrase this question correctly. We're looking for the differences within or inside the Whig Party. So where is the evidence for that?
First of all, they are saying that they believed it that it should protect individual rights.
Is that within the
And,
party or is that the party in general?
Yeah, it's in general, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so remember, what you really want to find here is some kind of difference within the party. Yeah, you keep giving differences that are of the party to the Democrats. Okay?
Oh, I think I'm messing it up.
No worries, no worries. So take a look at this one right here. What does it say?
Whigs in the northern sections.
Ah, so they're specifically identifying Whigs in the north.
Northern, yeah.
And then notice they say the word more. What does more highlight? A difference, right?
Difference, yeah.
Yeah.
More like,
So if Whigs in the northern sections were more likely to do this, what does that mean about Whigs in the southern sections?
they were against the social reform legislation.
Less likely.
Less likely.
Yeah. So it seems like the difference is about what?
Is the social reformation?
No.
or
What causes the difference? So remember, Whigs in the northern sections believe something. Whigs in the southern believe something. So what's resulting in the differences in these beliefs?
their own interests?
Is that what it says or no?
No, they said no, that the social reform legislation, they are more likely to favor that.
Who's they?
So they were.
Who's they?
They are the Whigs in the northern sections.
Right. So again, what's influencing their beliefs? Where do you live?
I live in India.
No, I mean what city or region?
Yeah, I'm from West Bengal. I live in city named as Asansol,
Okay, so
which is 200 kilometers away from Calcutta.
okay, the people in West Bengal, is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Do they have the same beliefs as in general of the people of Gujarat?
No.
Yeah.
No, not.
So what changes those beliefs? It's kind of the location, right?
Yeah, location.
Yeah, see the location? It's like the Whigs in the northern believe this, the Whigs in the southern believe this. So using that information, what would be the correct answer?
Oh, no, the answer would be D, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, D.
Because it actually emphasizes on the location, region.
Yep. Yeah, makes sense. So this is why rephrasing a question is so important, right? It's why rephrasing a question is so important. Yeah. Cool. Great job. All right, everybody, we did it. Great job. Any closing questions before we call it a day? Subodh, hey Subodh.
Yes, sir. I have one question on this only. Before explaining this, I did A. I marked A as an answer. So can you explain why not A?
Because A is not a difference within the Whig Party. That's a difference between the Whig Party and the Democrats. Yep. All right, everyone. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you to everyone who joined this. Hopefully, you're finding these homework review sessions helpful. Again, I do appreciate it. I just want to express my hey Diana, what's going on?
Yeah, Greg, so homework, I'm not sure. Did we have today homework?
No, because the last class that we had was the reading session 3 homework review. Yeah. And then at the end of the homework review classes, I don't give homework, but I will be giving homework here, by the way.
Oh, please, could you just do the screenshot like last time?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so you can do the screenshot, but I do encourage you to use the TOEFL study plan as well.
I know, but still,
okay.
Please.
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem. Yeah, no problem. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Anybody else? Cool. Let's jump into it, everybody. So far, we have talked about every single one of these questions. We've talked about passage summary, vocab, detail factual, sentence rephrasing, sentence addition, inference, author's purpose. And notice each one of these has a set of skills that is going to be quite useful. So if you are unfamiliar with any of these question types, check out questions 1 through 3, or my mistake, reading sessions 1 through 3, and then you can find out all of the skills about these questions right here. However, we haven't talked about these. We haven't talked about data table. We're not really able. Yeah, I'm at.
So
has a these questions.
So do we have a
This is on page 225, and it is the expression of emotions. Here we go. Step number 1, we want to get the main idea of every paragraph. Everyone take about 2 minutes, and then I'll take a volunteer. What is the main idea of paragraph number 1? And what is the main idea? But what is the author's main point here?
That how joy is expressed and how sadness can be expressed. Maybe.
Not exactly. Let's try Diana. What do you think, Diana? What's the main point of paragraph 1?
Yeah, not sure, but I think maybe to survive, just by evolution, the suggestion of Darwin. So because when people don't have, if you don't have language, then you just use your face to express your emotions.
Not exactly. Yeah, I think we're missing kind of the main idea. Shrey, what do you think?
Hi, Greg. So I think how our expressions, communicate the way we feel. This is introduced by author in the first para.
So if you start by saying how, again, you're kind of focusing on what the author's doing rather than what the main point is. So for example, if I say, I talk about how Shrey is doing, do we actually know how you're doing?
No. He's telling that it has effect on.
Yeah. So, but that's not actually what the main point is. So this is a technique that we obviously need to continue to work on, because it is important. What is the main point of paragraph 1? Let's go to Siva. What do you think, Siva?
Hey, Greg. I
Hey.
think it's kind of giving an introduction to universal expressions. And
So
how it
again,
is-
giving implies what it's doing. We're trying to say what is the author's main point. Let's go to Akif. What do you think, Akif?
I think the main idea of the first passage is universality of the emotions or expressions.
So again, you kind of rephrased it in a very safe way. Phrase it more in a very confident way. Emotions are.
Or expressions. Okay, I will say. Okay,
Many
I'm not sure both
emotions
of them.
are.
Maybe emotions are universal.
There we go. Yeah. Now notice you're not explaining what the author's doing. You're not explaining what's going on. You're actually the main point, right? The main point is that many emotions are universal. Very good. Does anyone have the main point of paragraph number 2? Let's go to Domini. What do you think, Domini?
Yeah, Greg, in paragraph 2, there are examples which is supporting the facts stated in paragraph 1. Like,
So again, you're telling me
getting-
what paragraph 2 is doing, not what the main point is. Yeah, so by saying it gives examples to support paragraph 1, I agree with you 100%. But isn't that more about function rather than what the main point is?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the main point? I mean, just put it this way. I mean, is the main point different? To paragraph
No,
1
it's
and
the same.
it's
like,
the exact
they're
same.
The continuation.
Yep, it's a continuation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many emotions are universal. Studies have confirmed it, et cetera, et cetera. Awesome job.
Right.
All right, let's go to the second one, paragraphs 3 and 4. Take about 1 minute or so, and then I'll take a volunteer.
Expressions are related.
All right, let's go to Suvajit. Suvajit, what do you think is the main point of paragraph 1?
I think.
Oh, sorry,
that,
paragraph 3. My mistake.
Paragraph 3. Yeah. I think expressions are related to the psychology.
Yes. That is correct. But what is this paragraph focusing on specifically? As in, like,
Facial
what's
expression.
No. So you're definitely correct. It talks about the link between expressions and emotions, but what is the main point about that link? Let's go to Akif. Akif, what is the main point about the link between expressions and
I think.
emotions?
Excuse me. Okay, I think the main point is relationship between brain and expressions.
Yeah, but you're not saying anything. Well, what is the author saying about that?
So they are connected.
Not exactly. Not exactly. Let's go to Domini. Hey, Domini, what do you think is the main point?
Continuation of first and second paragraph with the new hypothesis with the feedback.
So I think you said 2 ideas there, not 1.
Yeah, that's what I understood from this passage.
So if it was continuing paragraphs 1 and 2, it would be about universality, right? Universal. Do you see that anywhere?
The fact is supporting, but they come up with a new hypothesis here, like according to the hypothesis signals of the facial expression, like the feedback part.
Okay, so the main point is the hypothesis.
Yeah.
Okay, what does the hypothesis say about
facial feedback hypothesis, like
what does it say? What does the author say about it?
the relationship between the emotion and facial expression, how this gonna work together.
What about it? I think we have a tendency to avoid saying ideas. My hypothesis about why that is because by avoiding saying an idea, we're never wrong. We're never wrong because we're not actually taking a risk, right? What exactly is the author saying about this hypothesis? What does this hypothesis even say? Suvajit?
Yeah, I think I got it because they say that it influences the person's emotional state.
What does?
The expression, the relation, the expression of the happiness and the sadness.
Okay,
It
and
actually,
what is the author highlighting here in that case? So the passage admits that they're linked,
yeah,
but this is not the main idea, because remember,
Yeah.
most of the time people are going to think that emotion causes what?
emotion causes a difference or difference in our emotional state or something like that. Like
Well, that's not two things. That's just one thing. You're saying emotion changes emotion. Oh, we really struggle with main idea. Interesting. Okay, this is definitely an area where you want to spend a lot of time, because notice there's a couple of mistakes that people make. Number one, they mention what the paragraph is doing, which is a good skill. That's function. But another mistake is people are very safe with their answers. They'll say, I'll say, what is the main point about this paragraph? And they'll say, emotions or expressions. Yes, that's true, but what is the author arguing? Let's go to Shrey. What do you think, Shrey?
So in third paragraph, the author is telling it is the other way. It could be the other way around. Like
Exactly. The author's emphasizing that it's actually the opposite direction, right?
Direction. Yeah.
Right. So typically, what do we think? We think what?
Typically, we think our emotions are expressed by.
We think
our
emotions lead to
expression.
expressions. So, for example, if you feel happy, what do?
Smile.
You smile. What is this main point of this paragraph? They're saying maybe what?
Maybe expression is leading to influencing our emotions.
There you go. You got it, Shrey. Now, do you see what I mean by main point? Do you see what I mean by take a risk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a side.
Yeah, take a side. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. You'll notice a lot of people, they give very safe answers. They give very, very safe answers. Great job. Okay, so the main point here, everybody, is this idea that it can work in the opposite direction. The opposite direction. Okay, now paragraph 4, the main idea should be quite easy. What do we think the paragraph 4 is? What is the main point here? Have studies supported this idea or not supported it? What's the main point? So studies have supported this kind of opposite thing or not supported it? Yep. So the main point here is going to be studies have supported this right here. Cool, moving on. All right, we have two more paragraphs. Remember, try to get the main point of the paragraph, take a risk. Don't explain what the author's doing, actually what the main point is. I'll give about 2 minutes and then we'll take a volunteer. All right, any volunteers? What is the main idea of paragraph number 5, I believe? Any volunteers? I'll give you a little bit of a clue. One, and then other links right there. Let's go to Suvajit. Hey, Suvajit, what would you say is the main point here?
I think they are just pointing out two kinds of links that are actually linking
Yeah,
expression
exactly.
and emotion with
Yeah,
each other.
just several links, right? What's link number
Several
one? Arousal.
Arousal,
What's
yeah.
link number two? Temperature.
Changes in brain temperature.
Yeah, release. Yeah, blah blah blah. Okay.
Neurotransmitters and all those things.
How about the last one?
Yeah. It says that the Ekman's observation and the British Ekman's it just gives an observation made by Ekman.
Yeah, I mean, it just talks about it is relevant to this idea, right? So relevant to managing stress.
Mhm.
But what does it say? Does it say it's helpful, it's not helpful, or it can be both?
It can be both.
It can be both, exactly. Yep. Awesome
Yeah,
job.
It can be both.
You're getting it? You're getting it, Suvajit. So you understand what we
Yeah.
mean by main point? You kind of get it now?
Yeah.
Great
I'm
job.
getting it slowly.
Yeah, great job. All right, so just as a recap, everybody, many emotions are universal. That's the main ideas of paragraphs 1 and 2. The main idea of paragraph number 3 is that expression might actually cause somebody's emotion to change, and then they give some studies that have supported that. And then they talk about the several links between facial expressions and emotion, the arousal and the neurotransmitter and brain temperature. And then finally, it is relevant to managing stress, but it could go both ways. It could lower your stress or heighten your stress. All right, so we're going to go to the last question. So here's the last question. Remember, there's 2 ways to approach this. I encourage both ways. Find the big ideas that match the paragraph ideas we just talked about. But at the same time, don't forget to eliminate wrong answers. That will hopefully allow you to land on the 3 correct answers. Everyone take a minute or so, then I'll take a volunteer. Okay, let's go to Akif. Hey, Akif, what ideas look like the big ideas to you?
Okay, I think B is gonna be a main idea.
Yep.
And
That's the
other one-
links paragraph. Remember the several links, like link 1, link 2, all of that stuff.
Yes. Okay, can I continue?
Please.
Yes, D is the, I think, second main idea.
100%. So that's kind of the idea of paragraph 3, but that's also sprinkled in a little bit in paragraphs 1 and 2 as well. Awesome job.
And I think the last one is F.
Awesome job. Great job. Because, of course, that's the one about the opposite effect, right? That we talked about, that hypothesis. All right, let's talk about the wrong answers. What makes A wrong?
It's talking about something the scholar which called Duchenne. I think this is a minor detail.
Too specific. Way too specific. Minor detail. Awesome job. What makes C wrong?
Okay, they are talking about something like poker face, and I don't remember something like that according to the passage.
Try to use the actual answer choice. Notice how it says people commonly believe. Do you see that right there?
Yes.
Okay. So if this were a correct answer, just imagine. That means the main idea of a paragraph would be people commonly believe something. And if you look at the first and second paragraph, do you see the main idea as people commonly believing something? Nope.
No.
How about here? People commonly believing something? Nope. How about here? Nope, nope. So that's another way to do this. You go, if that is the correct answer, there should be a main idea about people commonly believing something, but there's not that, so that's wrong. All right, and then finally, what makes E wrong?
Okay.
Just focus on these first two words.
I think this is another minor detail.
Exactly. Is there a main idea about Ekman's argument? Not really.
No.
Yeah, not really. Cool. Great job. Awesome job.
Thank you.
All right, does anybody have any questions about this one? Correct answers are B, D, and F. Okay, let's do the vocab question. What's the answer, everybody? Relevant. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is applicable. Easy peasy right there. All right. What about the word rate? The word rate in the passage is closest in meaning to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is judge right there. So as you can see, you can go through the vocab questions in like super fast time. So now, number 2, concur. What is concur, everybody? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is going to be B, agree. So this is a really good illustration that the vocab questions can be done extremely quickly as long as you know the words, which is why we study vocab. Any questions about vocab or the passage summary? Any questions whatsoever? Going once. Going twice. All right, let's do some factual questions. So number 3 is a factual question. I'm going to give everybody about 2 minutes to do number 3. So 2 minutes. According to paragraph 2, which of the following was true of the 4 people of New Guinea? So remember the process here. Process number 1 is identify it is factual. Actually, I'll do this with a volunteer. Any volunteers? We can do this together. All right, let's go to Siva. Hey, Siva, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good. How do we know this is factual?
It's saying according to paragraph 2.
Exactly. So according to paragraph number 2. Number 2, can you rephrase the question for me? What is it asking?
It's asking which of the following facts about the 4 people is
Right.
true.
What's a fact, right? What's a fact? What is something that cannot be argued? Awesome job. So rephrase. Number 3 is you have to find the location. That's what we call the scanning technique. What are you going to look for in the passage?
I think I'm looking for 4 people.
Exactly.
So
Where do you
that
see
would be,
4? So try to look as quickly
I
as
think
possible.
all groups, including the 4.
Yeah, I think I see 4 here. I see 4 here, 4 here, and I think that's it, right? Okay. So now we need to see what it says about the 4 people. What is the very first piece of information it gives us about the 4 people?
It says that they were a tribe that dwell in New Guinea.
Okay, so number 1, they live in New Guinea.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that give us the right answer?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. What's fact number 2 about the 4?
They had almost no contact with the Western culture.
No contact with Western culture. Do we see that anywhere?
Yeah. See?
Boom. We're done. There you go. Awesome job, Siva.
Thank you.
All right, so that's the factual process, everybody. So number 1, identify it's factual. Number 2, rephrase the question. Number 3, find the location. And then number 4, play the vocab matching game. So the vocab matching game. What exactly do we mean by that? Do you see where it says no contact? What does that match with in C, everybody? Diana, what does that match with in C, no contact?
Knew very little.
Very good. Okay, did you have a question?
Yeah. So every time when I see, because usually it's like few ideas, like here they did this, they before did like
Sure.
okay. So if I see like the first one and I see it in the answer choices, I just can stick with it like immediately. I don't have to pay attention at
Well, remember, you always want to eliminate answers as well, especially if you're trying to get a perfect score on the reading, right? So let's go
Yeah.
ahead and try to eliminate some of these. Okay. So let's take a look. The 4 display that respond. Do you see anything about the 4 and the photographs? Like, do you see anything about 4 and photographs?
Photograph, no?
No, me neither. So A is wrong, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see any idea that the 4 were famous for storytelling?
No, doesn't
No,
seem-
nothing about famous right there, right?
Yeah.
So remember, you always want to eliminate as well, because that's really going to guarantee that you get the right answer.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so focus on those like where you see 4 in those like 3 or 4 sentences.
Yep.
In the middle, like you see it, and then pick from them. Okay.
Yeah, and remember, attack it from 2 different angles. All right, what are the 2 different angles?
Elimination.
Eliminate, that's number 1, and number 2, tell
Get
me
the right-
why C is correct with
Yeah,
evidence. With
Got it.
evidence. So where does it say knew very little, and you would say no contact?
No context.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Question from Shrey. Hey, Shrey.
Hi, Chris. So I have a question in a second question.
Sure.
So if you don't know the meaning of conquer, can you show how would you approach this?
Good question. Yep, good question. So let's imagine we don't know the meaning of concur. We have no idea. So in that case, what you want to do is just eliminate it. Just ignore. Okay. All right. So one way you do it is you look at the subject. What's the subject?
Investigators.
Okay. Can investigators estimate, agree, expect, understand?
They can't expect.
Sure, they can. They're people, right? Can people estimate, agree, expect, or understand something?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Sure.
So not helpful. Not helpful. Look at the object. The object is certain facial expressions. Would that be something you estimate? Most investigators estimate that certain facial expressions suggest. Estimate is about numbers, right? So we can eliminate that as well, right there. Okay, make sense? Okay. Now, in this case, expect, understand, and even agree kind of makes sense. You know, most investigators understand, most investigators expect, most investigators agree, etc., etc., etc. So this is actually pretty difficult. Now, let's imagine right after this sentence, they say, however, experts disagree. You know, what if they said something like that? Then in that case, what would the answer be?
Agree.
It would be agree. But in this case, I don't see that anywhere. So honestly, you could probably eliminate expect from a usage point of view, but in this case, you might have to do a 50-50. You might have to do a 50-50. Now, this is why we tell the TOEFL students to do what? Vocab, right? You know, it is important. It is important, not only for speed, but also because sometimes the context is not as helpful as you think.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to have you do this one by yourself. So this is a factual question. Remember the process. So number 1 is identify. Number 2 is going to be rephrase. Number 3 is going to be location. And then number 4 is going to be play the vocab matching game, everybody. All right, everyone, take about a minute or 2, and then we'll take a volunteer. Good luck. Okay, can I take a volunteer? Let's go to Diana. All right, Diana, let's go through this process. How do we know it's a factual question?
According to the passage.
Very good. Rephrase the question for me, please.
So, according to what Darwin said, happens to emotions that are not expressed.
That's not a rephrasing, that's a reading. Try to rephrase it for me. So remember, for example, how do you say I am hungry in Ukrainian?
Я хочу їсти.
Say the same idea with different vocabulary.
Okay.
Like, I am hungry, I need to eat. Say both
Yeah.
of those sentences in Ukrainian. I just want to hear it.
Я хочу їсти. Я голодна.
Yeah, so notice it's conveying the same idea, but you're using different vocabulary, right? Okay. So we're looking for Darwin's opinion. How do I know that?
Believe.
Yeah, about what?
Unexpressed emotions.
Yeah, so basically emotions that we show or don't show.
No, that we hide.
Yeah, exactly. That's a much better rephrasing. So, according to Darwin, what happens when we hide our emotions? Okay, the location's obvious. We just look for Darwin, right? Okay. So, according to the passage, what does it say? When we hide our emotions.
Yeah, so when we hide, they soften.
No, don't tell me the answer. Tell me, like, where does it even say hide? Where does it say not show?
In the passage.
In the passage, yeah.
As in the repression.
The repression, very good. And when that happens, what happens? It softens our emotions.
Yeah.
Now play the vocab matching game. What do you choose?
A.
There you go.
Lesson.
See how easy it is?
Yeah. I
You
have
get-
an issue with paraphrasing, I think.
Everyone has an issue with rephrasing. Everybody. Yeah, but it's a very powerful technique, right? What happens when we don't show our emotions, hide our emotions? Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
That was easy.
Yep. Great job, everybody. Great job, everybody. Let's go to number 5. Another factual question. Well, we can do this one together. Any volunteers want to kind of walk through this together? All right, let's go to Suvajit. So Suvajit, step number 1. How do we know it's factual?
Yeah, according to the passage.
Okay, very good. And it says research involving which of the following supported the hypothesis. Can you rephrase that?
In relation to the hypothesis, which answer below supports it?
Not a great rephrasing. Yeah, what's another way to say research, like a study?
A study, yeah.
Okay. So we're looking for a study that agreed with this hypothesis, right? Okay.
That's fine.
And there's something true about this study. Okay, so we go to the location's easy because of course it's highlighted.
I like
All right.
it, yeah.
What does it say about this study? Like what did this study involve? Who participated in this? Like what happened?
The study is about the experiments with smile.
Yep, so smiling and then they had
Yeah,
positive
yeah.
feelings and then what did they do?
They rate cartoons.
They rate cartoons. Okay, that's the only information we have. All right, what's the answer?
Yeah, it's A.
It has to be A, right?
Yeah, to cartoons.
It has to be A, no problem,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. The reactions of people and experiments to cartoons. Yeah, there's nothing else. Great job. All right, let's go to number 8, another factual question. We'll have you do this one by yourself. Number 8, everybody, and then we will take a volunteer. All right, let's go to Siva. Hey, Siva, how did you approach this one?
I didn't. I don't know why my hand was raised.
Oh, okay, no worries. I can take another volunteer. No problem. Any volunteers for this one? Kind of walk me through this one. All right, let's go back to Akif. Hey, Akif. So first of all, can you rephrase this question? What is it even asking us?
Yes. Okay. Okay. What is the possible result of stiffening the upper lip?
Awesome. And according to the passage, which of course it's going to start from here all the way to here, what does it say?
Okay. It say both of them according to the different situations, but especially it say it can be useful for struggling with stress.
Yeah, it basically says both situations can happen, right? It can suppress the emotional response, but it can also heighten the emotional response. So what's the answer?
D.
D is correct. Awesome job. Let's do a little bit of elimination. What makes C wrong?
Okay, it can damage the lip muscles. Okay, there is no such a thing.
Yeah, there's nothing about damaging the lip muscles. What's wrong with A? So A talks about this idea of order. First this,
but
then
A
this.
says intensifies it. So it says it will be something like amplification.
Well, I mean, do we have anything about order here? Does it say like first this happens, then this happens?
No, not
really.
Intensifies.
Yep. Oh, I think we're done. I think we have one more question. Last one, everybody. Sentence addition. First of all, before we do this, can I have a volunteer walk me through the strategy with the sentence addition? Let's go to Suvajit. So Suvajit, you come across a sentence addition question on the TOEFL. What's the first thing you want to look for?
I should read the bold sentence.
Yep, definitely read it.
Yeah. Then I should look for the transition words, if
Okay.
any.
Do you see any transition words here?
No.
Nope.
Here
Okay. Then you look for
a pronoun.
Pronouns. Very good. Do you see any pronouns?
Yeah, this.
Very good. So this universality, which means what comes before?
Regarding universality of the recognition of
Beautiful, beautiful. Number 4, ask yourself, is this a general idea? Like something could come after this? What do you think?
Yeah, it's general idea.
Okay, what part of it? What would come after this? So we know universality goes before. We know universality goes before. What about what goes after?
Describing the simple methods?
Yeah, so method 1, method 2, method 3, method 4, et cetera, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's probably enough information. So with the fact that universality goes before and methods go after, take about 30 seconds or so, and then I'll call you again to get the answer. All right, let's bring Suvajit back. Hey, Suvajit, with that information, what would you choose?
Yeah, I think I would choose D.
D, okay. So if we look before D, do you see anything about universality?
Yeah, people talking emotions of anger, disgust, fear, happiness.
So that doesn't mean universality. That just means universality means it's the same for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, also, if you put it in D, you're separating. See the then right there? So the then is directly connected to the took. You know, first he took photographs, then he did this. Do you want to separate those two ideas?
No.
Yeah, okay. So again, let's try this again. So before this sentence, we need something about universality.
Universality, yeah.
After this sentence, we need something about method.
words, yes.
Okay. Let's go to Shrey. Hey, Shrey, what are you thinking?
Hi. So I was thinking option B because of just before that it is mentioned in all the people. So I think that
Okay.
indicates universal.
So you've definitely got the universality part, right? In all people. But remember, after this has to be something about a method, a methodology. If you look after B, do you see a methodology? No, so that wouldn't work. Here's another problem. What word do you see right after B?
Moreover, oh yeah.
Yeah, which
supporting, so
which
I'm
means
separating, yeah.
this idea and this idea are together. Do you want to separate them? No, right?
No.
Okay. So that means the answer must be what? It must be C. Now let's go ahead and confirm this. Look after C. Do you see a methodology or a method, especially something simple?
Yeah, they are mentioned in classic research. So
Well, I mean, but that's not a method. Classic research is not a method. So what part would be the simple method?
took photographs.
Yep,
of people,
took
like,
photographs. Yep, good job. Look before this, we have to have some idea of universality. Do you see it?
People in diverse culture.
Boom, right there. Yeah. So what's the correct answer?
Yeah, C. Yeah.
Yeah, C is going to be the correct answer. Awesome job. All right, everybody, we did it. We did it. I am going to show you the homework. So here's the homework. All right, so here is the homework.